Of the more than 2,500 Florida educators who weighed in, 53% said there are not enough resources to address violent behavior in school. When asked what they think would help improve teacher safety the most, more than half supported zero-tolerance policies.
Here in Massachusetts, 22 of the 30 receipts we collected came back positive for BPS. The results showed some retailers' receipts did not include the harmful chemical, including CVS, Starbucks, and Whole Foods.
But our CMG investigative reporters worked together, partnering with KFF Health News to reveal how the Social Security Administration mistakenly overpays billions of dollars each year, then demands people pay that money back.
And do consumers actually have a fighting chance with a contract like this?
What they uncovered next shocked even these veteran investigative reporters. 40 years may sound like a long time for a contract, but they found even when a homeowner dies, the agreement lives on.
Of the Florida educators who answered, 65% said they've been subjected to physical violence at least once. Nationwide, more than half saying it happened more than once.
That was all about to change. Up next, a barrage of legal, legislative, and regulatory action against MV Realty, and what that could mean for the tens of thousands of homeowners across the country already locked into contracts.
Families receiving SSI benefits say raising paltry asset limits would be life-changing. Currently, individual beneficiaries can have no more than $2,000 in assets, married couples just $3,000. However, a bill reintroduced into the U.S. Senate would change that. It's the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act.
More than half of the teachers we heard from say they support zero-tolerance policies at schools to help address the safety threat.
Florida-based MV Realty spent the past few years racking up tens of thousands of customers across the country.
Here's something different. You own a home. A real estate agent pays you immediate cash for the chance to work with you in the future.
Homeowners made anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s, and all they had to do was sign a document saying if they later decided to sell their home, they'd use an MV Realty realtor. But most of the homeowners we spoke with didn't know that contract would last for 40 years and attached to their property.
I'm sorry to say this, but tipping culture has gotten out of control.
It means tipping fine, but what am I tipping for?
But then you want me to tip an additional 20% when I went and picked up my own food?
In all, Cox Media Group's sister stations collected more than 240 receipts across 8 states as part of a company-wide investigation. We then carefully packaged those receipts and shipped them off to the Ecology Center lab in Michigan. The results showed 80% of the paper receipts contained BPS.
Canavan is one of more than 1,000 Massachusetts educators who took 25 Investigate's exclusive survey on teacher safety. 71% of those who responded told us they've experienced violence at the hands of students. A third said it happened more than once. 93% say they've endured verbal abuse by students.
She did talk about the company's use of technology to spoof local phone numbers and its extensive robocalling operation. 9 months later, the Federal Communications Commission's robocall response team announced enforcement action, calling MV Realty, quote, an apparent homeowner-focused robocall scam campaign. Even worse, the 3% Betty paid was based on MV Realty's value of the home at $775,000, but it actually sold for far less than that, just $530,000. Cox Media Group television stations in 8 cities worked together, investigating more than 12,000 liens and featuring everyday homeowners desperate for answers. In Massachusetts, Georgia, Washington, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, our reporters contacted the attorneys general to ask about consumer complaints against MV Realty, as story after story revealed more people with their home equity handcuffed to a realty company for decades. MV Realty's home state of Florida was the first to file. Attorney General Ashley Moody's lawsuit called the company's business model a complex and deceptive scheme that attempts to skirt existing Florida law with the goal of swindling consumers out of their home equity. Weeks later, Massachusetts and Pennsylvania followed suit.
people don't expect that a mortgage lien is going to be recorded on their property just for signing up to use a company as your real estate agent. It's far outside the norm of industry standards.
In Pennsylvania, then Attorney General Josh Shapiro said homeowners fell victim to MV Realty's calculated deception in hiding the terms of the homeowner benefit program, calling the company a scam. He asked the court to halt any new homeowner benefit agreements, to strike all existing MV Realty mortgages, and to order restitution for those who've suffered losses. His news release included a comment from this Pittsburgh area resident who learned he had a lien on his home from our reporter.
I hate being taken advantage of.
Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, and North Carolina also sued MV Realty, a total of 7 attorneys general, trying to put a stop to the company's contracts.
There are always con artists ready to pounce.
Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown and others sent this letter to the Federal Trade Commission and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, calling on the agencies to investigate MV Realty. The letter urges the agencies to review whether these listing agreements and business practices violate federal consumer protection laws, including prohibitions against unfair, deceptive, or abusive acts and practices, and to take appropriate action where violations are found. MV Realty responded, saying it welcomes the opportunity to engage in discussions with policymakers and regulators to address concerns and clear up misconceptions about its business practices. But the company's troubles continued mounting.
They said they're giving people $500.
He traded $500 for signing this contract, and he later ended up getting sued by MV Realty because he listed the home with someone else.
MV Realty later dropped that lawsuit without explaining why, but property records show the couple was already in financial trouble. Years of tax liens had been sold. They eventually lost their home to foreclosure, which by MV Realty's definition can also count as a sale of the property and trigger that 3% fee. Elizabeth Blosser is Vice President of Government Affairs for the American Land Title Association, or ALTA. She says the trade group for title agents started hearing the name MV Realty popping up at closings all over the country, demanding 3% from sellers who had no idea why. She teamed up with a researcher and law students from Georgia State University to map the homes with MV Realty agreements in Metro Atlanta. They found 71% in majority black neighborhoods. Similar reviews in other cities identified seniors, low income, and people who speak English as a second language as frequent MV Realty customers. Earlier this year, Florida-based company MV Realty said it would voluntarily stop signing any new contracts with homeowners across the country while it examined the language in its agreements. Mounting lawsuits and legislation raised questions about the legality of the business model, which offered homeowners quick cash while locking up their property with an exclusive listing agreement and a lien for up to 40 years. Critics called it a scam to siphon hard-earned home equity away from vulnerable homeowners.